Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Big Factory here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone at the desk. Guys, today is Tuesday, March 25th. Sun's out a little bit today, 36 degrees. Woke up. It was a little chilly, but we're getting to that time. Baseball, guys. Thursday, opening day for the Major League Baseball season. I am so excited. The weather's starting to turn. I feel like I say this all the time, and then the next day it's literally an Arctic tundra.
Yeah.
But I think April is the perfect point where I start to really get excited for the spring. I think it's officially spring now as we talk, actually. But April's that point where you see the weather start to turn around. Guards, you saw the 25. We're waiting for that 26 spot, guys. But anytime we get to talk about baseball, football, really any day here on the Big Factor, it's a great day. How you guys doing today?
You know, they say hope springs eternal for all 30 teams this time of the year. Even the Rockies and the White Sox might have a little bit of jitters in their stomach right now. You never know how the season's going to turn out. Hopefully the weather turns in Cleveland soon, though, Rye.
Yeah, man. I'm over this. I'm going to Pittsburgh tomorrow. Newsflash, not much warmer in Pittsburgh. So I'm going to California next week.
Did you ever?
I was going to ask, but we have a shocking reveal on the show today.
What?
That you're heading out to California.
Oh, shoot. Yep, I'm going out next week. So.
I was going to say, I thought the shocking reveal was going to be a little bit behind the scenes. You're going to a concert, but you for the longest time, you didn't know who the hell it was. Do you finally know who you're traveling to go see?
Here's the thing, because you guys keep like asking me, and I'm like sick of saying that I don't know. I had Cam text me who it is.
So the odds that I've heard of this band is probably what?
It's
plus 800?
Not way higher than that. I mean, I don't think anybody
We could shock you.
Gregory Isakov.
Gregory Isakov?
Isakov.
Shut up, Jack. You're joking, right?
Yes, I'm joking.
Oh, okay. I was like, there's no way you know who that was.
Yeah, so that's who I'm going to Pittsburgh for. Cam's pumped.
City of Bridges, baby.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm staying at the hotel down there that's got the casino attached. So after that concert,
Are you a big casino guy?
I'm a big blackjack guy.
Yeah. I feel like that's a common sentiment.
Yeah.
Everybody can play blackjack. All right, well, you're going to Pittsburgh, guys. I want to start here. Is it a big deal that Andrew Berry wasn't at Cam Ward's pro day yesterday? We saw the first overall pick throw, looked at the Titans sideline and basically said, I'm going to confirm today that I'm going to be the number one pick by you guys. I don't think it's a big deal. I saw some people thinking, you got to go do your due diligence. I think the Browns are operating as there's no way Cam Ward's going to be available. I don't even know if he is the number one quarterback prospect, whether it is him or Shador. I don't think this is a big deal that they weren't at Cam Ward's pro day.
You know, it's not a big deal inherently, but it's one of those things, you know, when you were a kid in class and your teacher is like, okay, who has questions before the test tomorrow? And no one says anything so you can leave class early. And they're like, okay, well, you had your chance, you know? This is what this is. Andrew Berry, when you went 3-14 last year, you have to at least show up in nomenclature to pretend that you care about Cam Ward in case he falls to number 2. You have to do something right here, right? You can't just not go in the first place. It's like that kid who's saying, I don't care if I get an F on the test. You got to show up.
Yeah, you know, I don't think it's that big of a deal because they had people there. They had the assistant GM, Glenn Cook, who's going to be a GM at some point here once the Browns get better. And then one of their pro scouts was there as well. So I don't think it's that big of a deal because they at least had people there. Like, this is the same organization that 10 years ago didn't send anybody to pro days because they didn't believe in pro days. And that's how you wound up with Justin Gilbert in a Cleveland Browns uniform. So I'm going to pencil it down as not that big of a deal. I'm with Ryan. They're probably operating under the belief that Cam Ward's not even going to be available. I don't think he's going to be available. I think he's going number 1 overall. So you won't catch me freaking out over this.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to be alarmed here. I mean, I think the pick is Shador. I know we've gone over and over and over about what the Browns are going to do, but talking about Shador, I should say, people yesterday, what's the word I'm looking for? Guys like Dobb, what do they call them? Aggregators in the media. Apparently a quote from Deion Sanders along the lines of something like, we are hoping for New York, and referring to where he wants Shador to go. No audio, though. I'm yet to see audio about this.
No audio, no video.
And and even if audio did come out, which I think if it did, it would have by now, why is this a big deal? I don't think it changes anything.
Dude, this is, and I tweeted it yesterday, man, like one more month until all this is over. Like that stupid guy putting his face in the ice bowl. Like, that's me, man. Get me through this draft. I can't believe that we've been talking about this whole thing since, January. Like, we're 1 month away. This is going to be the longest month of all of our lives. Like, having to cover this every single day. There's going to be things like this that pop up every single day, every single hour, even leading up to the draft. It's just what happens. So sure. Today, I'm sure we're gonna have to hear a bunch of local people go on about well, does that mean if Dion really did say that, does that mean that the Giants should we just let him go to the Giants? Like, I'm with Ryan. I don't think this changes anything. If the Browns like Shedeur, they're gonna draft Shedeur. If the Browns don't like Shedeur, they're not gonna draft Shedeur. Like, this is not really brain science, but people are trying to turn it into that.
We've just talked about this so much ad nauseum to this point, where even, and no offense to Mason Graham, he's an incredible football player, but if there's a world where all this goes down and we talk about it for so long and we just take like the second or third best defensive player on the board, somehow we trade back a couple picks, I'm going to be so mad.
Yeah, shout out Mike Tannenbaum, who isn't a GM anymore for a reason. Had his latest mock draft and said, yeah, the Browns are going to pass on a quarterback, but the Giants, they're going to take Shedeur because they really need a quarterback. So do the Browns, and I don't think people understand that. Like, it's the most important position. I mean, I could give you a million reasons why to draft Shedeur. The Abdul Carter is attractive. He's, quote, generational talent. We'll see if that plays out. But everything starts at that quarterback position. I think people are just so afraid to fail, but until you keep throwing darts and nail on one of these guys, you're just going to be running in circles. It's going to be another thing. You drafted Myles Garrett.
Throwing darts?
Throwing Jackson darts? Hotty toddy.
I will speed run a pack of Marlboro Reds if they draft Jackson Dart. But what I'm saying,
live at the big play draft party.
Yeah, and I'll throw up everywhere. Like, I'll throw up when they draft that pick. What was I saying? You drafted Myles Garrett, and you got guys like Denzel Ward, David Njoku, Nick Chubb, but it didn't work out ultimately because you didn't have that quarterback that could put you over the hill. And I know you're not going to it's hard to draft guys like Burrow, get in at Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. And I don't know Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders could be a bust. I'm not claiming he's going to be great.
Ryan, here's the thing, here's like the one caveat that I'll give the people that don't want to draft a quarterback. What if they just truly believe that Shedeur's like a turd? Like,
then
what if they truly?
That's fine.
Believe that
If they truly believe Shedeur's going to stink it up, then I'm fine with taking Abdul Carter. But to sit here and if you think Shedeur can turn around a franchise, it's a whole different level. I get it from Jacksonville State and turning around to Colorado and turning around an NFL franchise playing with the best of the best. But if you think there's a chance of doing it, go for it. What are you going to do? You're going to be in the same position you are year after year. Like, you got to get the guy.
The piece of it too. The piece of it too is exactly what you said. Like, it's okay. There's no difference between him not being good enough to be the number 2 overall pick, but being good enough to be the number 3 overall pick to the Giants. Like, if the Giants think that he's that guy and that he could turn things around, there's no reason why the Browns shouldn't be thinking the same exact thing.
And I've said this so many times, it's nauseating. But when people talk about this as a weak quarterback class, how do you know? Guys, we thought Mac Jones was good. Well, actually, some people didn't. We thought Justin Fields was going to be good. Trevor Lawrence isn't at all what he was touted to be. He could still get there. Trey Lance, he went 3. All I'm saying is the last 2 drafts, Jaden Daniels, C.J. Stroud were both the number 2 quarterbacks taken off the board. They're both easily, right now, the best quarterbacks of those classes. Like, you never know. And I'm not an NFL scout. I don't know. But to sit here and say Shedeur stinks just because you watch him, you think he plays at Colorado, he wasn't at a big program, like, you don't know. The Browns might know that, or at least have an idea. But hey, they haven't gotten a quarterback right since '99. So maybe if you don't think this is the right choice, maybe it is.
Let me ask you guys this, though. So as we start to see Shedeur fall back and more mock drafts, do you think there's any, maybe not direct correlation, but are people starting to peak maybe Russell Wilson to the Browns? That's why we're not going there? Do you think that Russ is the reason we're seeing Shedeur out of the 2 slot?
Yeah, because people say, and I've seen multiple people, bigger stages than here, that say, well, if you get Russell Wilson, then go take the best player available. But the thing to that is, Russell Wilson isn't getting you farther than maybe a wild card appearance, right? I don't think it's crazy to say that if you guys would disagree with that. When you're looking at 2-3 years,
we saw the peak last year.
What was
with Tomlin.
Everything is to build the future of your football team.
We don't have
Myles
Tomlin,
Garrett. You need a future. You don't. You don't have Tomlin. You don't have anything like Tomlin. And Kevin Stefanski, 2-time coach of the year, is great, and I trust him. But you're right. You don't have a stable organization. Those are the teams that can handle that. But what has that gotten them? Playoff appearances, great. They haven't sniffed a championship game in how many years, right? Like, they've been wandering the desert, like Nick has put it, since Big Ben. Even if Shedeur comes in here, he doesn't start right away, fine. In 3 years, Russell Wilson isn't winning you playoff games. It's got to be a guy like Shedeur Sanders.
He's not winning playoff games next year.
Every team that we've seen with success, maybe outside of Jared Goff, okay, Matt Stafford going to the Rams in that trade, every quarterback has been built through the draft on a cheap rookie deal that you build team around him and you build him up. And that's just how the NFL blueprint is.
What's crazy too is the blueprint was really laid out last year. And it's fun. Like the Russell Wilson thing is like the most perfect circle that you could draw because he was so bad in Denver that the Denver Broncos gave the Browns the blueprint and draft a young quarterback, develop him through his first year. And that's the guy that is going to lead. Bo Nix is the guy that's going to lead the Broncos. They gave you that blueprint. It's up to the Browns to take it. The one thing that continues to give me pause a little bit, because I think we're all making a lot of sense in here, is that they're always liable to try to outsmart themselves and to try to be the smartest people in the room and to land Russell Wilson if that were to come down this week, to really sell themselves on the fact that Travis, that's your quarterback for this year, that Travis Hunter is a missing piece, and that could get you over the top in the AFC because you have a, future potential Hall of Fame quarterback in Russell Wilson, two dynamic playmakers in Judy and Travis Hunter. Like you always gotta expect the unexpected, I guess.
It's just the reality of the position is the quarterback is the most important position, not only in football, but in probably sports in general. I don't know if you guys could come up with something that would be better, but I really can't. Like, I just think of teams like the Colts. Just you go from a Hall of Famer to what would have been a Hall of Famer in Andrew Luck. Yeah. You made the playoffs. You didn't really you missed one season. You sucked. You got Andrew Luck. Now, I don't know I can't remember the best defensive player in that draft, but like let's just say the Abdul Carter equivalent, like you weren't going to the playoffs with that. I think of the 49ers, like if they didn't get bailed out by Brock Purdy, and you can credit Brock Purdy, you can credit the 49ers for being a stable organization, being able to elevate a player like that to become, a very formidable quarterback who's going to get paid here probably in the next couple weeks. The Browns, you just need the quarterback. Like it's just so important. And until you have that piece, man, you're running against the wind.
So Andrew Luck went 1. Ryan Tannehill went 2.
Wow.
So
Tannehill went 2nd overall.
Maybe that doesn't help our argument. No, he went 8th.
Yeah, I was gonna say
this Wikipedia line
wasn't it
probably saying
it was RG3.
Yeah, it was RG3 went 2.
Trent Richardson
was 3.
Went 3.
Also,
what a bunch of dumbasses! Really, 3rd overall.
Matt Khalil went 4.
Is he a tackle?
Good offensive tackle from the Vikings.
Where's Sue?
Julian Blackman went 5. I don't know that Sue.
Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm a year early.
Yeah.
Or a year late, I think.
Yeah. Andrew Luck and RG3. What's cool about this, and this is a route, like as we break down all of these routes that they could go, I just mentioned the one with Russell Wilson, and draft Travis Hunter. I would like to see them do what Washington did in this draft and do Shedeur Sanders at 2, but then in the 5th round or they are probably the 6th round since they have 3, 4, 6th round pick. They're gonna own the 6th round. Go draft another one.
That's fine.
Like they did with Kirk Cousins.
And that's completely fine. Like I'm fine with that. But Nick, I want to, before we go to break, you were at the NFL Combine. You went into Indy with the hunch that Shedeur Sanders was going to be the pick. You left Indy with even more faith that that's going to be the pick. Mm-hmm. With everything month past and we're a month from the draft, has anything changed on that stance for you? You
want me to answer that now or when we get back?
Now.
Yeah. No, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. I think that's ultimately what they'll decide to do. I think there are different variables that have moved since the Combine, getting Myles Garrett back, Myles hinting that he knows the plan at quarterback, Russell Wilson visiting Cleveland. However, the Russell Wilson thing is interesting too, because he visited Cleveland a week ago, left, went to New York, left. I think if he wanted to be in Cleveland and the Cleveland Browns wanted him here that bad, wouldn't she have just got that done and not even let him leave the building? So that's the one kind of caveat on Russell Wilson. And the thing is, right now, the only quarterback on the roster is Kenny Pickett. So like something has to shake, and I expect that it will from now till the NFL draft. But I don't think there's anything big enough that the Browns are going to do unless they do something crazy out of left field.
Like trade for Brock Purdy.
Like trade for I saw some Justin Herbert stuff. Get Tom Brady to sell that share of the Vegas Raiders. That's what I'm like. The need for the now and for the future is just there, and I don't think they can ignore that.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a break. When we get back, Abdul Carter makes his claim for being the number 1 pick in this year's NFL draft, ahead of Cam Ward. We'll talk about that when we get back here on The Big Factor. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan, Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone. We're brought to you today like we are every single day by our great friends at Fairway Ford, Ohio. Fairway Ford is the biggest Ford truck dealership in the state. They have the largest selection of Ford F-150s and Super Duty trucks, and I promise you they will not be beat on price by any other Ford dealers. Do not let a short drive to Canfield prevent you from saving thousands. That's thousands of dollars on your new ride. Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, lowest pricing, and the same hometown level of service. Visit fairwayfordohio.com. That's fairwayfordohio.com, and they will deliver to you as well. Literally can't beat it. Before we go into Abdul Carter's cryptic tweet, I don't even know if it's really cryptic.
I don't think it was cryptic.
No, it was pretty straightforward,
Yeah,
actually.
You're right. I want to talk about the draft still, the position, because Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, that regime, I think it's fair to say they're drafting for their job security, right? Like a lot of this pick will impact how they perform next season, and it's a lot to survive the Deshaun Watson contract. It's a lot to survive a 3-14 football season. If you go into next year, you don't get better. You win 3, 4, 5 games again. The outlook's maybe a little bleak. Now, you can throw some factors in there. If Shador is the draft pick and he looks good, well, you have a little bit of faith. Kevin Stefanski gets some things cooking at the end of the season. But what pick, whether it's Abdul Carter or Shador Sanders, do you think has more implications next year in terms of Browns having a better winning season? Because I could make the claim that it'd be Abdul Carter because Shador Sanders might not be ready. He's going to have to sit. But then at the same time, because of the position, it's a quarterback, you have much more impact on winning games than a defensive player does.
It's a really tough one. I'm not sure I'm going to give you my answer because I don't think it really matters what my answer is. But where I think the Browns come from on it, just from talking to people who have been in the building before and stuff, is that the belief or the philosophy coming from up top, from the GM and such, is that you build to have everything besides the quarterback. Like you need to get everything right so that quarterback can come in, whether it is like a Bo Nix that you slot in or whatever. You try and find the guy like you guys have talked about a billion times on his cheap rookie deal, whatever, you come out and win. That's why I think Abdul Carter's not the craziest thought in the world for the Browns. I think you keep building up that team so whenever that quarterback comes around that you do fall in love with, I don't think they overly force something this year if Shador Sanders isn't their guy.
It's a good take. I'm gonna go with Travis Hunter. To be honest, I would say neither Shador or Abdul Carter. I truly think that in a perfect world where the Browns didn't have this looming cloud and shadow over them that is the quarterback position, Andrew Berry would love to get his hands on a player like Travis Hunter that's, a touchdown machine on both sides of the football. It almost reminds me and I don't think the Browns think that they're in this spot, but I don't know, and I could be wrong. Maybe they do, and they think that they're better off than where they're at. When the 49ers had the 4th overall pick, and they took Nick Bosa, that wasn't a bad team. That was a team that was coming off like a deep NFC playoff run and even a Super Bowl appearance just a couple years prior. Jimmy G got hurt. They had a horrible season, and they wound up with the number 4 overall pick where they drafted Nick Bosa, and then they were right away back to being really good, even better because Nick Bosa is an elite defensive player, and he has been from day one. I think the Browns, if I hope they don't think that they're that good, they just won 3 games last year, and they don't have a quarterback. But if they think that Russell Wilson is the guy that could come in and manage, Kevin Stefanski's offense, a guy like Travis Hunter, I think could be the Browns version of Nick Bosa, if that makes sense.
It does make complete sense. And then it boils down to the point where, okay, how capped is Russell Wilson in terms of ability to get you to the Super Bowl? Like, it's no surprise. Just the people that have been in the Super Bowl, it's elite quarterbacks. It's top 5, no debates.
He's going to turn 37 before.
And so, and that's a question, right? Is I'm not sitting here and saying I expect the Browns to go to the Super Bowl. Obviously, that'd be nice. And it'd be nice just to get to the playoffs again. But at what point are you going to hit that playoff wall, for a lack of better terms, where you need a guy like Shador or Cam, who you hope are going to, at one point in their career, be top 5, right? Like, Russell Wilson at no point will ever be top 5 again, right? Maybe he was at one point, but he'll never be that again.
A boomerang into this, but and maybe it's just like my confusion about Russell Wilson and kind of like I don't want to call it the fascination that they seem to have with Russell Wilson. Of the veteran quarterback options that are out there that could, Ryan, to your point, make some noise in the AFC, win a playoff game, potentially make an AFC championship game if they don't want to play the waiting game for a rookie quarterback. isn't Aaron Rodgers probably better suited than Russell Wilson or Carson Wentz or any Kenny Pickett, any stopgap that they're going to have? It's I guess I should say maybe I'm a bit surprised that there's been zero interest from the Browns and Aaron Rodgers, or for that matter, Joe Flacco, the guy that we saw make the playoffs in a Browns uniform over Russell Wilson, who's somewhat of a pretty big question mark, I would say.
I would, yeah. I mean, if we sit here next season and we talk about how Aaron Rodgers led Pittsburgh to the playoffs, had a much better season than Russell Wilson, but it is Russell Wilson in Cleveland, I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest.
Me neither. And doesn't that kind of bring me back to my point that I had earlier about trying to outsmart yourself and trying to be the smartest?
That's
always
the
issue.
It's kind of like, okay, take a peek behind the curtain. Is the talent worth the outside noise? Is Aaron Rodgers going to be locked in? First and foremost, does he want to come to Cleveland? You've seen what happens when players don't want to come to Cleveland. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers has that choice here. But it all boils back to, I'm fine with Russell Wilson with the cards that are still on the table, but I still draft Shedeur Sanders.
It's an organizational issue, I think, that this whole entire offseason has just made no sense from the start until right now. We're kind of doing this whole Joshua Block in 2 states at once thing right now, where I can't tell if we're trying to be a good football team or a bad football team or somewhere right down the middle. You win 3 games last year. You decide to keep the head coach and GM. So obviously those two are fighting for their jobs. They're trying to be as good as possible. But the roster doesn't necessarily indicate being good in the next 2 to 3 years to the elite level or the breakthrough a playoff ceiling level that you were talking about, Ryan. So what are we doing? And then there was the possible Myles Garrett trade. Like, theoretically, trading Myles Garrett is probably the quickest route back into being good at some point in the future. You don't do that. You extend him. He's in the middle of his prime. We're not that good. What are we doing? Can you guys just answer that for me? Are we trying to be good? Are we trying to be bad? Are we trying to play 2 states at once?
I mean, they're never going to try to be bad, but
right.
I do understand your point. When you look at that playoff roster 2 years ago, it's not all that different than the roster we sit here today. Obviously, you had a healthier offensive line. You had a
younger offensive line too.
Yeah, Nick Chubb obviously won't be there, but like, I'm trying to figure out the best way to put this. I guess that is a big indicator, because you mentioned keeping Stefanski and keeping Andrew Berry, a big indicator of, okay, our main issue, and I agree, was quarterback. It's Deshaun Watson. It's when you saw Joe Flacco, a guy who can come in here. Does he have his cons? Yes, he throws turnovers a lot like Jameis Winston, but you saw glimpses of an offense that could, quite frankly, actually move the sticks, right? And I was talking about how drafting Abdul Carter would make Myles Garrett's life a whole lot easier, and I agree with that. But let me know what you guys think. But I said, I think what would make Myles Garrett's life even easier is if you draft a quarterback that can play well and isn't on the field for 3 snaps and then you're punting the ball.
Yeah,
I think also
that's really what it is. And if we're calling a spade and we're throwing things out, I mean, that's what he was mad about. Like, could we just say it in plain English? That's what Myles Garrett was mad about, is that he sat here for too long and has been a part of too many teams where the quarterback can't move the ball at all, and he's literally putting his body through a car accident. Maybe not the best comparison to draw, every single snap, because the quarterback and the offense has been so inept. And I think that's why when he kind of pooped on the ideology and the game plan moving forward, he's like, we need somebody that could move the football.
Yeah, I mean, when you're going to the sideline, you take off your helmet, you get a swig of water, and you're like, shit, why am I going back? Why am I running back on the field right now?
Yeah.
It gets exhausting. All right, I said we're getting into Abdul Carter. I waited like 40 minutes, but he tweeted this out yesterday. Number 1 overall pick, 30 days away. Don't let all this quarterback need talk fool y'all. It's already known who's the best, and no quarterback is in that discussion. Like I said, the best player goes number 1. Generational, remember. Abdul Carter thinks he deserves to go number 1, calls himself a generational talent. I sit here today, and I would put a lot of money. Guys, Cam Ward is going number 1 to the Tennessee Titans.
I love the route he's going, though, here. This is the classic Bo Callahan, Vontae Mack that we're going with right here. You got Cam Ward, supposed to be the first overall pick. Vontae Mack not giving up his ground. He's probably calling the Titans GM, just like Vontae Mack did in draft day, and telling them, hey, you know it's still me no matter what. I love it out of the guy. Like, you got to... It is a little bit crazy, don't get me wrong, to call out the quarterbacks in your class and stuff, but in a way, you want to have a guy who has a Baker type of edge to him, like a competitor, a fighter. Like that guy, at least you know when you send Abdul Carter out there on Sundays, whatever team gets him, you know that guy gives a shit and he's going to play hard whether you're 2-15 or 15-2. I kind of love it out of Abdul Carter.
It's pretty nuts, for sure. You know, and he's an individual that might be a little bit nuts.
Gotta play D-line.
I guess.
Yeah, you do.
That's kind
You
of
do.
why I wouldn't really mind if the Browns just avoided him. You know, like especially at 2, like you need a quarterback. Travis Hunter just won the Heisman. The Browns view him as a receiver, but he could contribute defensively. Like I would have in my personal. Maybe we do this on the show at some point. Maybe like next week for the TV version on The Rock. I'll put out my official like NFL draft rankings.
Okay.
I
did want to make a mock draft.
We could do a mock draft, but I want to do like a rankings, like of like 1, 2, 3, 4, and literally because that's how NFL teams do it. They rank their players, and then when you're on the clock, same thing. That's the same thing they'll do like with the 33rd pick. You know, they'll just go down their list, and the best player available at 33 is who the pick's going to be.
Or if you're Andrew Berry, you just go into College Football 25 and you sort by overall on the roster, and that's just where you start picking
That's
from.
the Woody Johnson special.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. That's how you lose out on Jerry Jeudy and right down the line. So maybe I'll do that next week. But I in my power rankings expect to have Travis Hunter above Abdul Carter.
Hey, I wouldn't blame you one bit. He probably is
No
the best
two ways
overall
about it.
player in the draft. All right, we got to take a break. When we get back, baseball is literally just days away. MLB 10 bowl predictions from Eno Saris of The Athletic, as well as NL West preview. Gee, I wonder who you have winning that division. We'll talk about that when we get back here on the Big Factor.
Rocktober, baby.
We are just 2 days away from the Guardians kicking off their 2025 campaign at Kauffman Stadium against those Kansas City Royals. Jack, before we preview the NL West, Eno Saris of The Athletic, he gave 10 bold predictions for the 2025 season. Guardians do have one of those bold predictions, a good one. We'll give them booms or dooms in honor of the Costco guys. Jack, what do we got?
I'm excited. Maybe the Costco guards this year. There's going to be a lot of boom in that outfield. I think we're going to be seeing an uptick in home runs. But, guys, before we get to the Costco guards, the Phillies have the best pitching staff in baseball. Boom or doom?
That's
a doom.
Very. Once
There
a
it
show,
is.
I messed up.
Wonderful.
There it is.
That's a doom.
I would say the Dodgers.
Dodgers.
Phillies
I'm going
are
to go with
close
the
second.
doom as well on that.
Yeah.
And it's just because they were a little bit too healthy last year, too. I mean, Zach Wheeler, he's amazing. He came, I think, third in the NL Cy Young voting last year. But when you're making $40 million and you're over 33 years old, you always scare me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes to the Dodgers. And, like, we're not even talking about, I know Clayton Kershaw's way past his prime, but, like, the fact that they have 1 through 5 is maybe a little bit debatable. 1 through 4 stuff.
They have 13 starting pitchers in their organization who would make a major league roster.
Yeah, I mean, speaks for itself. Big
I
deal.
forgot about the Rockies, maybe 17. Prediction number 2, though. The Red Sox return to the World Series.
Oh, wow. Jack, I know you're very high in the Red Sox. You have them winning.
The NL or the AL East, yes, I do.
But the World Series, that might be a little rich. I'll go doom.
Yankees are still the Yankees. I'm going doom as well.
I don't even have the Yankees in my playoffs this
These
year.
are, by the way, that's a good take too.
They're bold predictions.
And these are bold predictions.
They are
I'll
bold
give it a
predictions.
boom. I'll give this in the spirit of a bold prediction. I'll give the Red Sox a boom.
And I'm going to give it a boom as well because I do think they're the best team in the AL. It's
Garrett
plain and
Crochet,
simple.
Cy Young, AL.
Garrett Crochet is for Cy Young. I mean, it'd be really tough for him to win Cy Young if Tanner Bybee does. So you can't have 2 Cy Young winners. James Wood is this year's Ellie De La Cruz.
Ooh, it's quite the comp. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know much about the kid.
So James Wood, top prospect for the Nationals. He's really, really tall as well. So he's probably about that size also. Ridiculously fast, great hitter, plays right field. I'm going to give it a boom because he's kind of like a carbon copy of him, honestly.
I'm giving it a doom because this guy has dreads and they're just trying to make a dread.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that thought.
It's like every white receiver comes out, their comp is Cooper Kupp.
Wes Welker, yeah.
Julian Edelman.
Wyatt Langford is an all-star in the American League.
Maybe in spirit of the bold predictions, I'll give that a boom because I've been all doom so far.
I'm going doom on this one because there's too many good Guardians outfielders to. I mean, there's only a finite amount of spots here for the Yale outfielders. Wyatt Langford, great player though.
Eventually, this year, doom.
I mean, yeah, he basically debuted in the World Series. I mean, the kid's got a crazy story. And here we go, guys. Listen up a little bit. The Guardians have a top 5 rotation in baseball. An interesting note because in the preseason Fangraphs rankings, we are number 27 in baseball.
Top 5's a little rich. Got to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's a doom.
I mean, if Bieber comes back and he's healthy, sure. But I mean, you're relying a lot on an unknown in Luis Ortiz.
Yep.
You're relying on Gavin Williams to stay healthy. You're relying on Ben Lively to be consistent again. And you're relying on Logan Thomas to not poop the bed. Or Logan Allen, excuse me. So
Doom.
I'll go doom, but
I think
love
it's a doom also.
Yeah.
It's what is the opposite of a hit piece? Would that be
Puff piece.
Would that be a glaze piece? Oh, puff piece.
Yeah.
This is a puff piece on Gavin Williams. So that's all. I think they just wanted to fit in some Gavin Williams stuff.
A lot of the national guys do.
They're all over him. Dude. They're all over Gavin Williams.
And like a lot of like the gambling guys are over. Like Gavin Williams futures like over strikeouts for the season, over innings pitched on the season. Like the gambling like national guys love Gavin Williams.
Nolan Arenado gets back on the Hall of Fame track with a 30-bomb season.
Oh,
I would love that to be a boom, because I loved Arenado for a lot of years.
where's he at now?
Still in St. Louis.
He's still in St. Louis.
I'm a put
Paul
that as a
Goldschmidt
doom,
went to the
though.
Yankees, right?
Mm-hmm. He's hurt though.
That's another doom out of me.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to rain on this guy's parade. It's just like, hey man, like Nolan Arenado, like that was years ago. That was probably like close to a decade ago. You know, when he was really good.
Shout out the
and
Rockies.
on that Hall of Fame trajectory.
See, I'm a big believer in the Colin Sexton theory, which is even on a bad team, someone does have to score points for their team. Like you're not going to get shut out every single time you play the sport. I like it for Nolan Arenado. He's a guy who's he has the high pedigree as a former MVP winner, was amazing in Colorado. Another joke of a Colorado trade, you trade Nolan Arenado for money. That's one of the worst trades of all time. But I mean, I think he was healthy last in 2023, maybe. I like a bounce back year for Nolan Arenado. He still has the power, just can't play the field as much. But if we're looking at the biggest bat speed improvers in spring training from last season, number 3 on that list, Gabriel Arias, question mark?
Hell yeah, dude. I had this debate yesterday. Not really debate, but conversation. How nice would it be? You had the shortstop debate. Should it be Rocchio? Should it be Arias? Arias is now going to get the nod at second base. How nice would it be if these guys could coexist and be good at the same time? How big would that be for the Guardians?
I've said it
massive.
I've said it a billion times. Gabriel Arias will hit 20 home runs somewhere in the next 5 years. I don't know if it's in Colorado, if it's in Cleveland, or if it's in the Korean League, but it's coming. He's got a hell of a swing. The exit velo is always nuts with that guy.
Toronto, we do great business with
We
the
do
Blue
great
Jays.
Ernie Clement could be home by the time the season starts for that 26-man spot. Watch out for that.
We do good work with North Montana.
We do, because they have Shapiro. This one could apply to us also, actually, guys. The Giants have the best bullpen in baseball.
I don't know enough about the Giants bullpen to give that a boom or doom, to be honest with you.
And honestly, I don't either, but they can't be as good as our bullpen, right? 4 guys under 2 ERA last year.
Yeah,
But
but
it's a big doom.
The only thing is, it wouldn't be bold to say the Guardians will have the best
That's
bullpen
fair.
again.
That's fair.
Right.
That's very fair. And then concluding this list, how much do you guys know about Joey Ortiz from the Brewers? Because if we don't know a ton about Joey Ortiz, then this is a null and void point.
Null and void it is.
Null and void because I don't know a ton about Joey Ortiz last year, but he got hurt. That's all I know. But he's going to have a bounce back year, according to this guy. So good for Joey Ortiz.
All right, we got one more break. When we get back, we're breaking down the NL West, the Dodgers, Jack. I'll be shocked if you have anybody keeping up with them. Rockies, maybe? Tyler Freeman, Big Ed.
October.
We'll break that down
October,
when we get
baby.
back on the Big Factor.
Ramon Marquez.
All right, it is time to break down the National League West. Welcome back to the Big Factor. Ryan Tyler,
West.
Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone.
October.
The Cubs already 2-0, 0-2. The Dodgers are 2-0 after they wrap up that Tokyo series last year. Dodgers on top, of course, your eventual World Series champions, 98-64. Ohtani is a beast. You keep Teoscar Hernandez. I mean, you called them what the Tokyo Dodgers. Roki
Japan
Sasaki,
Dodgers,
Yamamoto in his second year. Jack, can anybody take down these Dodgers? Oh, and you added Blake Snell, by the way.
No, they can't. Next team, they win the division.
All right.
Their win total might win 115 games this year and not break a sweat.
All right. Well, the closest one to dethrone them last year, at least, was the San Diego Padres, 93-69. Jack, how do you see the Padres this year?
Man, it's a weird team because they have a lot of very solid starting pitchers who I'm not personally in love with. So I think I always tend to rate this Padres team lower than most people. That's probably coming off purely my hatred for Joe Musgrove and Michael King. So that's where I sit them. But man, they got a lot of fun pieces. Like Jackson Merrill is going to be awesome once again. He's one of the budding stars of the sport. I think the biggest story for the Padres, though, is are they going to be able to keep the starting pitching healthy? Yu Darvish, obviously older as well. Because if that team's sitting in a comfortable position around the All-Star break, they can go right back out and keep on improving that bullpen and the starting lineup. But if not, you might see Luis Ariz on the move for what seems like the 18th consecutive trade deadline. So, I mean, I have the Padres finishing third and moving on from Luis Ariz at some point this season.
All right. Well, Diamondbacks, they finished third in the NL West last season, 89-73. They get our old friend Josh Naylor. Is he going to mash 50 homers in Arizona, Jack?
Man, 50, I don't know. It's actually not a terribly friendly park to left-handed hitters, but maybe he'll put some out in the pool out there. But this is going to be a fun team. Obviously, you get Zach Gallen back, you get Brandon Pfaadt back, but they got Corbin Burns this offseason. Huge move getting him from the Orioles, so that's really going to shore up that rotation. And then, yeah, I mean, losing Christian Walker is never fun. It's kind of weird. The Christian Walker and Josh Naylor have been tied together in their career in many ways for a long time. Never played together or anything, but it just always seems like whoever is the first baseman, they want to flip-flop for the other at every single time. Like how many times have you seen the Guardians should go get Christian Walker and trade Josh Naylor and vice versa a billion times? So it's kind of weird that it's actually now happening where Naylor's going to take over at first base for Christian Walker out there in the desert. I don't know. I think they come second in the division, but they don't have enough to keep up with the Dodgers for sure. But I think they could be a playoff team.
All right, Giants 80-82 last season in the NL West. The bold prediction said they might have the best bullpen in the MLB. We gave that a doom. But Giants, I remember, man, they used to be so good. They won, I think it was like every other year they would win the World Series. Tim Lincecum, Buster Posey.
Yeah, 10,
what
12,
happened
14.
What happened to catchers that can rake?
Yeah, catchers that can rake have
Like
gone by the wayside.
You got Contreras, but like catchers don't rake anymore.
I mean, Austin Hedges has an 18 home run season to his name in the big leagues, which people don't like to talk about. So there's one for you. But the Giants are just probably the most average team in Major League Baseball, and there's nothing wrong with that because they're on their way up. But think about it: if you're in that division and you know you're not going to really compete, like why are you going to try and hang with the Dodgers? You know, I mean, there's no point in doing that. But they have a lot of good young pieces. Kyle Harrison's going to has been up now, but him and Hayden Birdsong are great additions to that rotation for the long-term part of their future, almost like their version of Bean Williams in a way. Logan Webb, I mean, just a fantasy baseball staple, a guy you want on your roster because he's on your roster, I believe.
He is
Ryan.
on my roster.
Yeah, but I mean, they'll be a fun team, but they're going to win 80 games. So look for them in the future.
When we go to the basement, Rocky Top, they don't have much going for them. Coors Field is a cool stadium, but they finished 61-101 last season. They get Tyler Freeman. Is that enough to get him out of the basement, Jack?
Guys, I hate to say it, I don't think Rocktober is going to be back this year.
No,
I think the
that's
streak's
a bold
going to
take.
carry on. Yeah, I mean, there's just not a lot of positive things going on in Denver, Colorado when it comes to baseball right now. You're really looking towards Chase DeLander, your top prospect who got taken third overall, I believe, in last year's draft. They were kind of hoping he would make a push towards the opening day roster. He got his shit rocked all of spring training, like just really, really bad, giving up the home run ball. So that's not what they wanted to see. He's going to start out his year as a Hartford yard goat now as the alternative, maybe an Albuquerque isotope, depending on where they slot him in at. But there's just not a lot going on with this organization right now. Like, clearly they have enough faith in Jordan Beck and Zach Veen in the future that they were comfortable moving on from Nolan Jones in the outfield. So maybe there's something to look forward to with Jordan Beck out there in left and right field. But yeah, I mean, they're a fun team. They got Ezekiel Tovar. He's fun to watch. Brenton Doyle, if he can stay healthy, like he's going to steal 50 bags and probably hit 250. Like there's 2 to 3 pieces on this team where it's worth going to Coors Park in summer if you're a fan, but they're not doing anything.
All right, I wanted before we break, I'd actually want to talk about this, Nick. Lewis Riddick just tweeted, "Hit the road, do the work." Now, he was reporting live from Cam Ward at his pro day. There were rumors Lewis Riddick wants to become a GM. There were links to the Browns if Andrew Berry was to get canned. That obviously didn't happen. You think this is a shot at Andrew Berry?
Sure comes across that way, especially because that's kind of like the number one conversation piece in the football world is, reacting to Cam Ward's pro day, who was there, who wasn't there. I see you scrolling the replies over there, Ryan. A lot of people,
Of course, I see Reflog with a meme.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was a direct shot.
We talked about it a little bit earlier. It is not doing your homework or asking that question. Like you have to, at least in theory, just show up. Like just to say you showed up. Like you got to show face when you got to, you got to just go show face at events sometimes in life that you don't want to do. If you're an NFL GM and you won 3 games last year trying to keep your job, you're the number 2 pick, and there's a generational prospect at quarterback. Even if there's a prospect who's supposed to go number 1 overall, you got to be at his pro day.
All right, we got to head out of here. Quick prayers up for Juju Watkins. That was awful to see. She's supposed to be the face of the WNBA with Caitlin Clark. Horrible news for USC. Horrible news for her. She begins to go into the WNBA next year, but I'm sure she'll still be amazing when she gets back. All right, we'll be back tomorrow.
Jason Tatum too. How long that's supposed to be?
It didn't seem bad. At least that's what they said.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming he'll be out a week.
That's good.
Maybe. I mean, they don't really need to play him that much unless
Right.
you really want to go for the 1 seed. But the Cavs, I think at this point, have it locked up. All right. Thanks for watching The Big Factor. Huge shout out to Garage Beer. Huge shout out to Fairway Ford. We'll be back tomorrow. Same people, same time.